Hi, so today we're going to try something a little different. I'm going to try out two mouthpieces on a full orchestral excerpt run in the style of the series that I just thought I had finished. And I'm also going to share some thoughts about practice and practice philosophy before we get started, because it's part of the reason why I'm doing this extra video. A couple of months ago I had an interesting realization where I realized that for about, I don't know, 15, 16 years or something like that, I hadn't really been practicing artistically. My art had developed, but at a slow rate, and most of the practice I had done was just kind of physically based. And the reason why I realized that was like, there's always, when you're out of school, there's always so much going on. Whether it's like, freelancing, making money from teaching, making money from sources in the music industry, but that aren't fully artistically focused. Life, things going on, like, bills, having a family. They're all really big parts of being an adult, and they occupy a lot of mental real estate. And there's only so much mental real estate that you have to practice every day when you have all this other kind of stressors and modern adult living and societal whatever's happening kind of going on around you at any given moment. And it can really affect how one practices. It's why I think it's easier to win auditions when you're still in school or when you've just left school than it is 10 or 15 years later, where you might be a better player, but all those extra stressors and factors of living prevent you from getting the best preparation possible. A couple months ago I just realized I let all that go and I just started practicing and really enjoying the process more than ever before. Like, I've always liked practicing. I practice really hard and really consistently, and I've always enjoyed that, but this was just a kind of a deeper relationship with practice than I was used to. And as such, it meant that, like, the differences between switching mouthpieces, all that stuff just kind of like went away. It became a lot easier to switch and to just play this mouthpiece or that mouthpiece and still feel like I was getting the most out of it. I was in the process of setting up mouthpieces to do like a new Bolero video on signature mouthpieces, which I haven't done for a couple of years. And as I was just testing out some of the mouthpieces, I realized they were completely different than when I've tried them out in the past. And I just felt a lot more musical and a lot more confident and centered on mouthpieces that I hadn't necessarily felt that good about in the past. So before I do that Bolero video, I actually wanted to take a second and play through this kind of audition list on two more mouthpieces that I wasn't expecting to go through. We're going to play the Laskey Rejano 56IB, the Iberian model. And then after that, we're going to play the Verus JSV1. I played the JSV2, which is a deeper mouthpiece and one that I usually feel a little bit more comfortable in deeper mouthpieces, but kind of with this new mentality towards practicing, it seems like it matters less, and it's kind of an interesting sound world to occupy. I'll talk more about the JSV1 in a second, but I would like to start with the Rejano 56IB, the Iberian model. There's also an Apollo model and a Cosmos model that they're slightly different in different ways. This one, I believe, is the heaviest model. It's a Laskey 56 series, which puts it supposedly in the Bach 4G or so, like rim range. But I will say that having played a variety of Laskey 57s and a lot of like Bach 5G style mouthpieces, this one, which should be 25.6 millimeters rather than 25.7 millimeters. With Laskey, you always take the last two numbers and add a 2 to them. So 56 is 25.6, 57 is 25.7. This feels significantly smaller. This feels smaller than the 5G I've played. It just feels, on the face, it's one of the smallest large shank tenor mouthpieces I have in terms of like feel of the rim. So the measurements of it, maybe it is exactly 25.6. Again, I don't really use calipers, but the feel due to the rim, it feels by far like the smallest mouthpiece I have. It's on the heavier side. It's got a lot of weight in the cup. It's got a lot of weight on this little band here, and the rim is like pretty thick up here. So with that kind of like smaller throat, I have a hard time telling what the throat actually does. With the smaller rim and kind of like more direct airstream feel that this mouthpiece gives me, it feels like the weight of it helps balance that out to achieve a more orchestral sound. But let's give it a try on the mock audition list and see what happens. I'm kind of excited for this one. These two, yeah. So that's the Laskey Rejano 56IB. What I forgot to mention at the very top of it, David Rejano is the principal trombone of the LA Philharmonic and teaches at the Colburn School of Music in Los Angeles, where his students are doing fantastic things and winning big auditions. So there's something to be said for this mouthpiece. When I first played this mouthpiece trying it out, it felt maybe a little airy, a little light to me. But with my kind of new practice and like letting go of a lot of other stuff in life and just really focusing on like practicing artistically, I find that this mouthpiece is saying a lot more to me in terms of its approach. I feel like I'm getting more out of it, and I feel like I'm really hearing what the qualities of it are versus hearing maybe what I want to from it. But it's a very fascinating mouthpiece to pick up and play around with again. And now let's do this all again. Now we're going to use the JSV1, the Verus JSV1 made by Pickett, sold by Houghton Horns. This is John Sebastian Verus' signature mouthpiece. I've talked about him before in the JSV2. He'll be happy to know that this one is slightly more polished than the other one I played. So the kind of the sparkling nature of this ivory color on it really is striking and very aesthetically pleasing. Always liked that about that. Yeah, so I've already introduced Sebastian in my other videos. Great player, fantastic lyrical player, high-level sub with big orchestras around the country, and principal of the Pittsburgh Lyric Opera. Just all around good player, good guy. I've tried out the JSV2, which is slightly heavier. I thought the JSV2 was slightly deeper, but I believe Sebastian corrected me on that, and they're just about the same, just minor slight weight difference. And as such, I usually gravitate towards things that are a little heavier or feel a little deeper, even if they're not. But with this kind of like new approach, I find that it's mattering less, and I'm really curious to see what the JSV1 sounds like now compared to the other recording of the JSV2. So we're going to go through the list again. I'll make sure to put timings so you can jump around and you don't have to just, watch through the whole thing and listen to me talk so much. But let's go for mock audition number 2 on the JSV1. Alright, I think in all his videos, that's the first time I've missed the last G of the Bernstein, so I'm going to give myself a little bit of grace for that one. Alright, so, the JSV1 and the Rejano 56IB. The JSV1 has a really, really, really rich classical orchestral sound that I enjoy a lot. This feels more what I'm used to in terms of like a New York symphonic sound, and it's really a lovely, lovely, lovely tone without it being so big that it feels like it gets a little bit diffuse, as maybe some of my other mouthpieces feel in the orchestral excerpt context. What this is reminding me about is that the Rejano 56IB has a very, very, very narrow slot to it. That's the main thing I feel. It feels like it's very much, it locks you in a tinier slot, which can be a good thing if you're really used to playing on it, if you feel very secure. The JSV1 feels like it has a wider slot and a little bit more forgiveness in terms of hitting the right note at the right time, but it also feels like it's a little bit easier to drag kind of out of pitch ever so slightly. Again, time spent with the mouthpiece and practice would mitigate those factors. That's just what I feel from like an initial impression of them. Smaller slot on the Rejano, but maybe more security, and a wider slot and maybe more timbral variation on the JSV1 at the cost of like a little bit of extra security. Both are really fantastic mouthpieces. I'm really glad I get to try them out kind of side by side. It's fun to run through the excerpt list twice and just put myself under that pressure. As always, thanks to Brooklyn for the honking car horns throwing me off. Right before I played the Brahms, I heard this car horn. I was like, that's a G! And then I just cracked the A I was supposed to play, and I was like, oh, that's fun. Thanks, New York. But, you know, adversity auditions. Sometimes a little bit of distraction's like kind of welcome, because you never know what's going to happen in a live audition. Alright, so that's today's video. It's a little bit on the long side. We tried out 2 mouthpieces, and again, what I was saying about the practice. It's been a very interesting journey, realizing just how much of my practice time and kind of artistic self has been subsumed without me knowing it by just the stressors of everyday life as a musician. It's been nice to kind of pull out of that. I feel like the last few months of practice have been the most productive few months of practice I've ever had in my life, and I'm enjoying really taking that trip, seeing what happens next. Alright, thank you so much for following along with this series. I'm pretty sure I'm done with it now, this being like a little bit of a bonus episode. I'll probably do a video soon on like the signature mouthpieces I haven't played bolero on. I'll just do them all, like 8 different mouthpieces, just do bolero again. And in the meantime, other than that, I'm just kind of prepping for some auditions and going on a tour of Florida in late January, hopefully hitting up some schools there and visiting down and sharing some, you know, unaccompanied recitals and masterclasses. Yeah, so that's the update for now. Thanks for watching. Hope you're having a happy holiday season.